Good afternoon, everyone. I think that we can start. We have a wait for 5 minutes. I would like to say hello to David. Thank you very much for organizing this with us. I think that the schedule is for 1 hour. This event, as you know, is an event for the community of Andalucía Lab. We are a community of professionals from the travel industry. Our main goals are to facilitate the innovative knowledge for all of you. And that's why we organize almost 100 of workshops and events every year to help SMEs as the ones that are attending this event to embrace digitalization, technology, and all different topics that we see interesting for all of you. We are also a community of travel tech companies, not only travel companies, and we help them to refine their products and market their services in the travel industry. That's why multiple companies are coming with us to Fitur, to the Tourism Innovation Summit in Seville, much more events that we have attended during this year. And we can say that we are planning also our presence in the ITB in Berlin in 2024. So some travel tech companies will come with us. So we have a lot of activities with all the community of professionals, as I said, from the more classic travel industry and also providers from innovative and tech, the tech industry. So we don't want and we don't like to walk alone. That's why we try to build alliance with other partners, because we think that this is a good way to try to approach to different topics that we are not experts in. So this is in this sense that this is the event that we are holding today is a joint venture with the EU SME Centre. This is an initiative funded by the European Union, offering free advice, training, and other services to European SMEs in China. So looking to bring to our communities new topics, in a survey that we conducted in July, we identify the key points of interest for our community, which is the base of the topics that we are going to discuss today. We are going to discuss about the profiling the Chinese tourist, evolution to the Chinese consumer, its trends and how to meet his requests, and an evaluation of the post-pandemic recovery. So we hope that this event could be the starting point of a new work line for Andalucía Lab and all the community to help our users to thrive in this Chinese market. So just to thanks David from the EU SME Centre and the speaker, Francesc Boyo, who is going to approach all these topics. So David, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here today to talk about Chinese outbound tourism. Before leaving the floor to our keynote speaker today, I would like to very briefly present EU SME Centre, who we are, what we do, and also just to remind you that at the end of the presentation, we are going to have a Q&A session. So if you have any question during the speech of the main speaker today, please do not hesitate to write them down in the chat session so that we can collect them and later on try and answer them live at the very end of the webinar. So talking about EU SME Centre, this is a project founded by the European Commission, as it was mentioned. It has been launched in 2012. This is currently 2010. Sorry, this is currently the 13th year of life of this project, and the overall goal is that of supporting European small and medium enterprises that want to enter in the Chinese market or expand in the Chinese market. In order to do so, mainly 5 services have been created that are directly accessible and free of charge for all the European enterprises. The first 3 are directly accessible to our website. The first one is the self-diagnosis tool, which promptly explains the enterprise if they have any knowledge gap Should that be the case, the website would directly send the enterprise to the knowledge component, where all the documents that have been published by the EU SME Centre in the past years can be found, ranging from very general introductions to the Chinese market to specific and in-depth analysis of specific sectors or specific certificates that an enterprise might need in order to engage with the Chinese market. The third component is the advice and ask the expert function. Here, the single enterprise can directly ask questions to our experts based in Beijing for issues that matter to them directly. So it is a one-on-one session with our experts. The fourth component is the training one, such as the webinar that we are having today, in which we try and focus on specific subjects that are of interest to our partners. And the last component is the advocacy one, that is mainly directed at those companies that are already active in the Chinese market, and in which we try and act as collectors of issues that the enterprises might face, so that we can then present them at the governmental level in China. Since I don't want to take too much time from our main speaker presentation, I would like just to end here the SME Centre presentation. If you have any questions, please browse our website, reach out to me. You can find my email contact on the SME Centre website, and we are always more than happy to answer to any potential questions that you might have. So without any further ado, I would like to briefly introduce our main speaker today, Francesco Boggio Ferraris, who's the Executive Director of the Italian Cancer Foundation Academy ever since 2009. Over the course of the year, he has been implemented and designed various training courses focused on intercultural management strategies for Italian enterprises mostly, but also European enterprises that want to target the Chinese market, want to access the Chinese market, and he especially focuses on the luxury sector and that of hospitality services aimed at the Chinese tourists. So, Francesco, thank you very much for being here today, and the floor is yours. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay. Thank you so much, Davide, for the introduction, and thank you, Jose, for inviting us, for inviting me, for having me. I hope everyone hears me correctly, and just a quick check. I'm pleased to, thank you, Davide. I'm pleased to be here with all of you, and exactly to go through the topics, the information, and the facts that Davide just mentioned will be the topic of this evening session. We have more or less 14 minutes to spend together, and I'd like to have a quick and interesting debate with you, an exchange of ideas and opinions based on the facts and the numbers that we've had the chance to somehow collect during all these 2023 year, which is coming to an end. So it allows us actually to have a proper set of factual information to share with all of you in order to understand where we're at. So the state of the art of this recovery, which everyone is talking about in Europe, here in Italy, but I'm traveling pretty much all over the most important regions that are attracting Chinese tourists here in Europe from China, obviously, and we can say that we could say, in fact, we not facing the numbers, the figures that we were expecting to have, and we will get to this point in a couple of minutes. But regardless, the, let's say, quantitative part of this issue, for what concerns a qualitative part, so the impressions we have on the profiling and segments of tourists traveling that rebounded, that recovered from traveling, and at the same time, the types and the different trends that we are facing, in this particular set of information, we have many things to share. We have many information that we were able to gather many information, and obviously this evening we had a chance to share them with you. So just to have a quick premise of what will follow with my presentation, if we are, let's say, if I had to just point it out with a single sentence, we haven't been lucky enough in terms of numbers. of figures, so numbers of travelers coming back and recovery. But we have been lucky enough to say that the people that traveled are particular profiles that we are able to analyze somehow, and for which we can say we have many interesting business opportunities to offer them in under the obviously in the scenario of the touristic services, the retail, the hospitality, and also the food and beverage and the sports related activities that we can offer to our Chinese clients. So this is interesting, I think. Being myself, like Davide said, I'm the director of this academy at Italy-China Council Foundation. I'm a sinologist as well. So I'm always interested in the evolution of the social cultural features of our clients. Before being clients, obviously, they are persons with a culture that is ever evolving, probably a bit quicker than ours. So it's interesting to say that from 2020, with the spreading of the COVID disease, until these days, 2023, in this span time of 3 years, many transformations in terms of trends and needs and desires, also in the sector of tourism, have been going on and developing in China. So it's interesting to keep them, to keep ourselves updated, to keep them under our notice, to understand them very well in order to offer some kind of services that, in a case, are not the same that we were used to offer until 2019. So after this premise, which I think it was important to share with you, so a part of us is pretty optimistic about the offering, and a part of us is still not so optimistic in terms of numbers and the economy recovery. We can start with sharing some of the ideas that I prepare for you. I just go and share my screen in order to, there we go. Just a quick check with Davide. Just give me a nod if you see them correctly. Very well. I go in presentation mode and start from this slide. Oh, there we go. So I didn't, I want this time we spent together, this 40 minutes time more or less that I mentioned, to be very effective, very useful. So don't need to go through many, well, I've done this, I've done that, we are here for this, we are here for that, because Davide already helped me help everyone focus on the activities we do here in Italy and in Europe. And I just want to go straight to the point of the information that I want to share with you. The first slide, in fact, it's not qualitative, but quantitative. We need a couple of figures, numbers to understand what's going on. This slide, which I entitled "Where Were We At?" In fact, focuses on some of the numbers that we have been able to see until 2019, the last year before the COVID disease and before the world changed, we can say pretty much. And in China, this is particularly true. It seems like the world in China has changed even more than it has changed. Let me just do this kind of a little joke here, more than it has actually changed in many other places. Why? For many reasons that we don't have the time to understand here, but I think that most of you can feel that way, can understand it pretty easily. Lockdowns in China were particularly strong, even stronger than the ones that we had here. And these allowed people also to, for example, to find some interesting new hobbies, new interests, and also to build inside themselves the idea of somehow, sometimes being able to do, let's say, a revenge spending, to have a revenge spending attitude also in the touristic sector. And that's a part of that is what we're facing right now. But in 2019, the best year in terms of outbound tourism from China all over the world, these are the numbers that describe it definitely. So in 2019, we had 169 million Chinese long-haul and short-haul outbound tourists traveling all over the world. 169, so more or less 170 million Chinese tourists, Chinese travelers. I said tourists, actually there's a percentage of around 8% of people that are actually have been traveling for other reasons than tourism. But in general, we have people traveling with these numbers, which it makes also interesting for us to understand that the year-on-year rate of growth in the number of tourists were this almost 5%. And another interesting fact is that tourism in China has weighted that year 11% of the whole GDP. So an important and interesting part of the economy, of the Chinese economy, and obviously a very interesting part of our economies here in Europe, because for example, just citing the numbers regarding Italy, we could easily say that of that 169 million people traveling, at least 4 to 5 million people came to Italy. 4 to 5 million people of Chinese high net worth individuals traveling. You can understand very easily that it's a part of our GDP as well that benefited from these travels, and that from the in the night time, from the night to the morning after, it's simply stopped, and it has stopped for 3 years now. So for 2.5 years, more or less. Another interesting fact that we can focus on regarding the places, the destinations of these tourists before COVID era, tells us that the 76% of them chose Asia as the first region to reach for touristic reasons. So it's interesting that more or less the three out of four persons traveling chose a destination in Asia, from China to Asia. And then we have the next coming is Europe, actually, with 11%, and then America with 10%, and African and the Middle East with 3%. An interesting fact is that Europe has actually been above the United States and the Americas in general in terms of interest towards which the tourists decided to book a travel, a leisure travel, a leisure trip, for example. 76% in Asia is another interesting number. We must consider that 5 years before, so in 2015, only 4 to 5 years before this data was registered, this 76%, I remember it because in 2015 in Italy we had the Expo, the Milan Expo, and as you remember probably, we had a pass of the baton from Shanghai 2010 Expo to Milan, Italy 2015 Expo. I just use this example to tell you that in 2015, that number that decided to go to Asia was almost 90%. So what we are witnessing in these last years before COVID is the draining of the preferred destinations from the Asian countries to the European states. So this is the state of the art before COVID. Obviously, like you know, everyone knows it has changed, and we must try to understand where we're at right now. I decided not to show you data and figures about the recovery of 2023 because I bet that in a 2 weeks time, right before the Christmas time, we will have the definitive numbers, and every number that I would have put in a slide right now would be easily changed or contested in a 2 weeks time. I can tell you that we're somewhere between the 40% to the 50% of the recovery of these 169 million. So it means that in 2023, more or less, we've hosted, we've received, we've welcomed pretty much half of the numbers that we've had in 2019, with an idea of easily reach the same number, and probably surpass or even pass it in 2024. So by the end of 2024, no doubt the recovery will be over. But an interesting data that I would like to share with you as well about that somehow counterweights the idea, the bad luck on having half of the tourists we had in 2019, is that if we take the data from Global Blue, which you know that is the leader company for tax-free refund to non-Schengen tourists in Europe, well, they told us recently that even though we had pretty much half of the number of tourists from China in 2023, anyway, we've had 78% of the recovery in terms of the purchasing power of those who have been traveling. So this is a key fact for us. If I had to sum it up and summarize in a very quick sentence and a few words, I would say that less people traveling, but spending more, but eager to spend more. And I think in 2024, we will witness kind of the same type of travelers. Now, there are reasons for this, and trying to understand them under a social, cultural, and socio-economic approach that I will share with you in a couple of slides. There are precise reasons for this, obviously. Civil Aviation Administration of China, the CAAC, has stated that by the end of 2023, air traffic in and out of China will recover 75% from pre-pandemic levels, which means that 6 million arrivals in Europe can be expected by the end of 2023. As I told you before, we've had the 5 million in Italy in 2019, but speaking of Europe, we've had 14 million people traveling to Europe in 2019. So we will be probably around 6 million at the end of 2023. But this is in terms of numbers. And then, as I mentioned at the beginning of this session, I would like this session not to be too much focused on numbers, but be more qualitative and being able to inspire you, operators and players of these sectors, to find out some way to attract Chinese tourists. And in order to do so, more than numbers, I think impressions and qualitative ideas will do. I chose a document in particular, which has been prepared. It's a survey, actually, which has been prepared and operated by good partners of ours, which is called InTarget. It's an agency, that operates between China and Italy, and they've been publishing and issuing this Rediscovering Europe: The Return of Chinese Tourists, which is a survey they did on 108 million people of audience. So I find it pretty interesting because it's one of the few that can say easily that have been done on a good basis, on a good number of travelers, obviously, to Europe, which have been asked some questions in order to try and focus on what kind of expectations they have they will have also for their comeback travels to Europe. The first impressions that we've picked out of this survey is that we easily can say that we are in the third era of the tourism history of outbound tourism, outbound China tourism to Europe. The first era, let's say, the first wave of Chinese tourists, as everyone remembers well, was the one that we can easily call the package tour travelers, the ones that started traveling around the first part of the years 2000, of the 2000s. They were more characterized by large groups that chose organized travels, where they had a few money to spend in order to sleep and eat. They were interested in doing very quick journeys with many steps, many stops also. The second era, which was the one that started at around time 2010 and ended in 2019, more or less, even though, well, something that must be considered before I go on, it's not that these three waves that I'm about to show you have disappeared, or that one just left the room for the next one. Obviously, we still see all of three, but there's a major wave of each one of them during the different eras that we've been facing. So the second one that characterized the years from 2010 to 2019 is the so-called FIT, second wave of Chinese tourists, so free independent travelers, where we witnessed more mature travelers, maybe couples, maybe husband and wife or friend, fiancé, or little groups of people booking their own journeys by themselves with, at the time, we could say C-Trip, now it's trip.com, but anyway, a more mature way of traveling. In the survey from InTarget very strongly confirms that what we have been facing in this 2023 is the third wave of Chinese tourists, silver travelers in particular, the interesting in particular. Silver travelers in their 50, 60 years, they're the best agers also called, newly retired, high net worth individuals. Don't forget, we're talking about 300 million people in China, 1/5 of the population, who are more focused on longer trips and cultural experience. In particular, I'd like to tell you that all our, not only the InTarget survey, but all of the jobs that we've done, the works and the projects we've been working on that Davide mentioned all to 2023 are confirming that businessmen, repeaters, and affluent tourists were the three precise and different profiles that have been traveling in 2023. Repeaters, because I told you there are reasons, specific reasons for which we have these kind of travelers, because they are they are wealthier. They traveled before. In fact, they are repeaters. So they came to Europe before, and they know it's safe somehow. Don't forget, safety is on the top of their expectations right now after COVID. And obviously they have more time, not only the 2 golden weeks, the typical ones during October 1st, starting October 1st, and the other starting in January or February with the Chinese New Year, but they can travel during other parts of the season. So it's interesting to say. Not only actually the so-called INFA, I chose to put them with Chinese name here to show you. So the INFA means silver hair. So those in their 50s or 60s, but at the same time, we witness many travelers, repeaters, affluent and business travelers in another cluster of age, which is the Linlin-Ho. So the other end of the rope exactly, because Linlin-Ho means those born after 00 in Chinese, Linlin-Ho. So after the 2000, those in their 20s, so very young, Z generation, we say here in Europe. We love to call it Z generations. Actually, in China, they call them Linlin-Ho. These two clusters of different age, at the top end of the rope, they both represent 18% of the whole population in China, and they are the ones that have been traveling the most during 2023. On one hand, we have the Linlin-Ho, who are digital native, more impulsive when shopping online, need customization of products, heavily influenced from key opinion leaders or key opinion consumers, even in choosing a destination. So a suggestion that I would like to share with you, if you have to invest on promoting a region in Spain or a city or even a destination, a specific destination, is once I would have told you create a WeChat account. Now I would like to tell you just create a connection with a Chinese KOL, a key opinion leader, or KOC, who are the influencers of our times here, obviously in China. Invite him or her in Andalusia or in the city or in the destination you want them to come, and invite them for a week in order to do some content creation, because probably there's a good chance they have 300 million followers in China, or even if not 300 million followers, some million followers for sure, who are interested in listening to everything they have to say about the travels or the trips or the journeys they choose. So it's a new approach, obviously, but something that must be considered as well. Don't underestimate, on the other side, the power that INFA, so the silver hair, have, and their a customization to technology as well. They plan online shopping or traveling as well. They have a strong purchasing power. And as I told you, are more interested in leisure, tourism, and art. We don't have the numbers here, but I wanted to tell you anyway, from another survey we followed, the 38% of Chinese tourists in the future will choose our destinations in Europe, not because of shopping as a first driver, which you know very well, being them shopping travelers, shopping tourists, have always played an important role in their decisions. Anyway, apart from that, 38% of them just told us, recently told us that art and important artistic events like museums, essays or exhibitions, but even sports events. Just think of the recent ATP Tour, tennis tournaments or golf tournaments we had in Rome, in Italy, for example, and the upcoming Winter Olympics, actually, in Italy. Those are kind of attractions that will lead them to Europe more and more, 38%. This is a new number, new approach. Once we will have them here, actually, even for these new reasons that we are just shaping right now, well, we can't do any mistakes then when they're here anyway in approaching them and in enabling them to live the kind of experience they are used to when they're in China. And if I had to choose to pick up just one of the approaches that are correct, as you imagine, the digital part plays an important role, and especially in the segment of the digital payments. Don't forget that after COVID, China has definitely turned into a CCC society, so a cashless, cardless, and contactless society. So it's important to partner with Alipay, for example, in order to enable our Alipay cashier, for example. And don't forget, in fact, we are talking about 900 million people making digital payments on a daily basis in China and expect to do so when they travel. It's a plus 32%, the digital payments increase from 2022 versus 2021. And look, only 20% of the Chinese citizens own a credit card. So if we consider to have them paying by credit card, we will definitely miss an opportunity. Now, I'd like to share 3 slides with you about the styles, because we've mentioned that the socio-economic and socio-cultural transformation and trends are something that we can't ignore, and we must take into good consideration. So, what kind of styles of traveling are emerging in the COVID era or the post-COVID era? Chinese travelers have shown a growing preference for exploring new places and also for seeking immersive experiences, which is something they didn't do so much in the years 2010. Personalized tours off the beaten path have gained popularity. They want customized travels. They want to experience also something new, which is outdoor and nature discovery. This needs to be matched with opportunities and events, for example, in the cities of Europe, obviously, and with glamour and fashionable and trendy situations in the cities, which they always love and like. But experiences outdoor, in Italy at least, with Chinese tourists, have been blossoming, blooming all through this 2023. For example, with outdoor camping or glamping, which is something everyone is talking about right now, but it's something that is totally new for a Chinese traveler. And with this approach to leisure, which mixes business and leisure. A little best practice that I can share with you, because I know, for example, in Andalusia, there's a ski sector, which is very interesting and very potentially very attractive. And I'm talking from the northern Italy, where, as I mentioned, we will have in a few years' time the Winter Olympics. So it really comes easy to our minds to say, well, why not offering them what we call, for example, the white weeks, the ski weeks, the ski opportunities, where we as Europeans love to ski from 8 in the morning to 5 in the evening every day for 7 days a week. Is it something we can offer to our Chinese tourists, being outdoor camping, leisure, and outdoor nature discovery related activities on the verge so much? My answer is no. It's definitely not. I mean, the mountains and a few hours dedicated to practicing the sport or the trekking are okay, but they can't be done for a whole week. They're not interested in that. They don't have this sporty, adventurous approach so developed. So my suggestion is a few hours to try the sport and the rest for experience, for sightseeing, for shopping. And don't forget to put in the mix a flavor of educational approach. Chinese people are culturally and naturally, typically, very, very open and open and interested towards the possibility of learning something, and also not only for them but also for their children. So the idea of booking ski lessons, for example, for just 1 day out of 7 days of approach of experience is a good idea. Wealthy Chinese travelers, in terms of new profiles that emerged, are creative and health conscious. These are other 2 features that we can easily share. They value education, they value cultural experiences, and they seek to expose themselves to new environments and ways of life. In fact, in our InTarget survey, 59% of respondents describe themselves as creative minds. This is interesting. It's not only managers, entrepreneurs, or engineers, or STEM and scientific background people traveling, which is the typical profile of the last eras and the last waves of travelers. Is more the creative. One easy example that summarizes everything. We are running here in Milan a project with Chinese students, for example, every year. And we have been running for the last 10 years or so. 10 years ago, all the 100 students we received here from all over China were all engineers, engineers or scientific students. Now they're all artists. They are musicians, they are fine art students. So it has changed so much. We attract Chinese creative minds. And so even in offering opportunities in the touristic sector and welcoming them in the services and hotels sector, it's interesting to offer them this kind of healthy, for example, opportunities. In fact, 71% of the travelers interviewed declared to be health conscious and very concerned about their lifestyle. Chinese have 3 years' time, spent 3 years' time, like I mentioned at the beginning, to develop new trendy passions. So offering them what they're interested in can help avoid the big scourge on tourism, which is seasonality, obviously. Third, predominant characteristics of our travelers, but this is something that I'm telling you, which is on one side, nothing new. So they are mobile reliant. They like to research destinations. So before, book traveling before, and then share their experiences during and after on their social media. So it's very important to reach them out on the new platforms. And I will tell you about trip.com, for instance, as a first one. But another interesting fact, which is new, totally new, is that they're family focused. After COVID-19, they found out the importance of traveling with children. 53% of respondents are focused on home life and like to travel with at least their only child. And this must be taken into consideration in a mix of opportunities we offer them. Because, for example, the education for children, activities for children, everything that can also be done in trekking or shopping experiences for children is definitely very well accepted. And not necessarily only for relax. For relax, Chinese for holidays relax. They will go to Vietnam, Thailand, Bali, Hainan, Yunnan. So they remain in the Asian area. When they choose Europe, they want obviously shopping like we know, but they also want experience and find out something new. Anyway, the hard times of COVID have played a major role in the driving forces in choosing the way to travel and also the preferred vacation times. You can see in the right side of our slide here that the resorts and the spa retreat have become the first choice. And this is interesting because when it was the packaged era, first era of Chinese travelers, like 15 years ago, more or less, the typical situation where they wanted to sleep, the whole big group was the hotels right out of the downtown, the old downtowns. They wanted them out to spend less money and to be very easy to reach by obviously the bus stations and from very, very comfortable situations. Now they want resorts, they want spa. They want to live life at the fullest because of the hard times they had. Anyway, the fourth is staycation, as you can see, 43%, which is something that must be taken into consideration as well. Staycation means spend holidays staying at home. And this is the other side, I think, the other face of the coin when it comes to after COVID era. Also staying at home with your peers, with your family is something which is interesting. Now, just a quick glimpse at the new trends that are emerging that I like to share. This is a picture I took myself, actually, here in Milan a few weeks ago. And I find it it speaks a ton. I mean, it's very, very, it's mind-blowing on one side because we had Z generation, Lilingho Chinese tourists traveling. While we're at here, we are at a typical Milan flea market. And this typical flea market here, which I think it's, I think 30 years or so that I go to this flea market every once in a while just to see, to look around. I've never, ever seen a Chinese tourist in this flea market, not to mention a Chinese Z generation tourist, a very young one. The typical and stereotype, the bias in our mind, fashionable, fashion addict, dressed in Balenciaga from head to toe, younger Chinese. Not the place where you expect him to be in the fashion capital of Milan, right? Anyway, instead, this is what I like about social cultural approach. Things are changing, and tourists, even younger tourists, are seeking for authentic experiences. They are definitely more and more. I had a chance to speak also in Chinese with lots of them. So being able to speak in Chinese to them is important because they open so much and they can tell you, yeah, obviously we're interested in going downtown in the luxury district of Milan and probably do shopping, but we want to live the real life of the Milan typical citizen that on Sunday morning will go in the Naviglio. So there's an artificial river we have running through our city where we have the flea market and live the life of the typical Milanese, not the Milan people. This is good. This is, I think, it's important to know because it tells us that they want to do experiences, but obviously with a flavor on top of a Chinese attitude, which is always business related and is very, very digital. Why am I telling you this? Because I had the chance to see that they went to the flea market, but also to do live streaming e-commerce. So live streaming e-commerce is one of the latest trends. They choose a trip to Spain, or they choose a bag of a product they want to buy. Why and where? On a typical e-commerce platform? No. Just looking at the e-commerce from WeChat or Xiaohongshu, Little Red Book? No. On a live stream. So a program running on an app, a website or an app of 1 hour more or less, where they have a key opinion leader, where they have this Chinese influencer, and that obviously can chat in real time with them and to whom they can ask questions. They want the product to be seen in that way, and it's not directly or necessarily paid from the company sometimes. So it's very honest on what he or she is saying. What I see here is people, and I show you a quick video of this that I shot myself, going to the flea market and selling authentic, traditional products from the flea market to Chinese people in China during some live streaming e-commerce. And in China, someone was asking, for example, oh, wow, I like that paint. Can you tell me something more about the painter? I'd like to have it in my kitchen or in my place here in Beijing or in Shanghai. And so these persons are traveling to Milan to live an experience, but at the same time make up some money by doing some live streams for their friends and peers or people in their channel stay in China. We see this girl here just doing this.
未来的这种价值空间以及它作品里面是这个好，是不是这个颜色很好看？两幅都非常好，给你们拿下来看啊，稍等一下下。价值空间以及它作品里面就是这个颜色很好看，对不？两幅都非常好，啊，稍等一下下。
Okay, probably we're asking too much from the video. But anyway, the idea that I wanted to share is exactly this. So a blend of a tradition and authentic experiences with technology and with business as well. So the mix, the strategic assets we must look at are a mix of cultural heritage and gastronomic tours, because they love to, a part of the experience is through food and beverage, which is something new and very important, and obviously wellness and healthcare. We've been asking through ENIT, also the National Agency of Tourism here in Italy, and this is a slide that I wanted to share with you just to give you an idea. So which are the preferred, the attractions, the most important attractions they felt they wanted to see in this 2023 located in Italy. But it's interesting to say, and I wanted to share with you in Spain, because we, Italy and Spain, probably we share this perception from Chinese tourists that the first touristic attraction or spot in Italy that they'd like to see in 2023 is the Basilica of the Sagrada Familia, which we all know, obviously, it's not in Italy, actually, it's in Spain. When we talk about more mature tourists, but at the same time, we don't have to forget that they are in the process, obviously, of building their reputation and building their knowledge and competences about the places they're going. Some pre-post-COVID tourist profiles and the evolution of travelers and expected upcoming trends that I'd like in the end to mention are the following. First of all, young persons, so millennials and small group of young families, activity-oriented, but also interested in spirituality with key educational focus. So to sum it up, the things that we've said so far. Another information which would need some consideration also, I think, in this post-COVID time, is that China is the fourth biggest Christian country. Probably nobody ever considered it, but we must consider it now after all the hardships that we've lived through due to the pandemic. People are more and more interested in a spiritual approach. So holy places outside of Rome, and which we know there are many, obviously, in Spain, for example, and also monasteries to where they could go and detox themselves from the hard times of the modern society, let's say, are places that will more and more be attractive for Chinese tourists. We are witnessing already some of these approaches. Sometimes a good friend of mine and professor, Gary Galt from China Outbound Tourism Research Institute, argued, actually came out with a brilliant idea In fact, you asked me which is the country in the world with the most Christians. Probably is China, because there are more than 60 million, the number of the population here in Italy, which we could say at least a big part is obviously Christian. And this is actually true. So there's a good cluster of potential travelers that are very interested in a more spiritual approach and interested in visiting Catholic or Christian destinations all over Europe. Horse riding, is a new fashion that we've witnessed also for HNWIs in China. This is another part that must be taken into consideration, because when we design experiences for foreign travelers, the idea of the horses is something we mostly connect, for example, to the Middle East or the Arabic or the Gulf country, very high net worth individuals traveling, and now Chinese people as well are finding interesting in horse riding. The snow-based activities, but not primarily skiing, so discovering mountain activities is something important. And last but not least, and being Spain so in Spain so important, this topic as it is in Italy, actually, football. If I had to say, does football still represent an attraction, European football, an attraction for Chinese tourists, and will it represent in the future? I bet it will, and I feel being able to speak with some of the Italian clubs like Internazionale, Inter FC, or AC Milan here, which are partners of us for many projects. They are telling us that the activities towards Chinese tourists and fans are definitely blossoming. So football, with the possibility of visit stadiums, experiencing games like VIC packages, we can offer them via very important clients or tourists packages we can put in the mix of our organized tour, is definitely an important thing to say. Last but not least, I'd like to close this session before having probably the chance to chat with you to collect some of the questions, with a specific focus on technology, and especially on artificial intelligence, which is a trend topic in Europe, in America, but in China as well. I just wanted to show you this couple of videos where the AR, VR, but also metaverse, which in China is becoming a standard in many different sectors, from retail to tourism, have actually been penetrating some of the business activities in retail, and in fact, and in tourism, more than it's really actually happening outside of China or in Europe, for example. Tourism-related services may be one of the important fields of application. Recently, I was in Florence, and I want to share these last suggestion with you all, because Trip.com, which is the most important and iconic online travel agency from China, the one that was called C-Trip a few years ago, and has now become Trip.com, and definitely the player number one, major player in the OTA business ecosystem of apps and of website where people go and book their travels, has just presented this new tool, which is an application of the artificial intelligence to their app. This chatbot, like our ChatGPT, for example, here in Europe or in America as well, which has just turned one, as you know, 1 year old, in the Trip.com protocol has the name of Genie. It's called the Trip Genie. And it's a new and upcoming system which allows travelers to directly speak with this chatbot, obviously, which is called Genie, and to ask when they are like strolling around an alias or a city in Spain, Barcelona, or in Madrid, or anywhere in the world, the person from China can chat with with Genie, and by obviously just speaking, no need to touch your screen to write anything, but you can just chat with this digital person with this artificial intelligence and asking, for example, I'm in Barcelona and I would like to go and do something this evening. What do you suggest me? Obviously, the AI tracks you in everything you do. So this Genie knows very well what you like. For example, what you like to eat, who are your favorite bands, for example, and if there's one of your favorite bands playing in Barcelona that night, she will suggest you to go and see the concert, and maybe also to book the ticket for you if you just say, yes, I'd love to. Or this Genie, Trip Genie, knows very well what your tastes are in terms of food and beverage. And you can ask her, well, do you suggest me to go eating tonight here in Barcelona? And she will definitely give you good advice. So this is, I think, an interesting evolution and application of the artificial intelligence to the touristic sector within the touristic industry, actually, and it comes from China. I show you a quick video. I hope we're lucky enough to see it running around. Otherwise, don't worry. At the end of our session, we will share the material so you will be able to see and eventually to get in touch with trip.com to have your business obviously tracked in the app as well. Let me see if we can check it out.
It's genius. You don't even have to use your hands. Hey, Trip Genie, give me a discount if I want to bank. So visit my offer. It's genius. You don't even have to use your hands. Hey, Trip Genie, give me a discount if I want to bank. So visit my offer. Hey, Trip Genie.
Thank you, David. I see that it's not running actually. Okay, I show you some pictures then of the video so it's easier. For example, but it's very effective, and probably you can find it by Googling or by doing in Baidu or some Chinese website or Chinese search engine. Just go and check it out. And for example, this person here, it's in a point of view, so it's very effective. He's strolling around Bangkok and asking, what can I do? Obviously, the app knows very well what you like and dislike, and will offer you some activities and also book them for you, buy something for you, do everything for you, just speaking in terms of what you like to do or not. I find it a very, very interesting application and something we will witness more and more with Chinese tourists in the future. Yeah, I think we're running out of time a little bit. We'll leave you just a couple of ideas about skiing and other apps that must be maybe taken into consideration if you want for the Andalusia, for example, region to be represented on the China platforms. The Le Bin Sue and Sky Plus are the places to be for ski, for example. And I'm just mentioning ski because we're in winter time. And we know we're expecting many Chinese tourists from now to February 10. Don't forget, February 10, China New Year, the Year of the Dragon starting. And we expect many people coming, and especially for these activities in the mountainside. So we reached the end. I think we more or less in time. 谢谢大家. So thanks everyone for being with us. Definitely available for any question, Q&A, your feedback. What's important, it really matters to us. So if you want to scan this QR code and take our quick survey, not now necessarily, but you can scan it now and do it later, obviously, we will be very glad to receive your feedbacks in order to fine-tune our next presentations. And so just thank you for taking part from all our partners, ICCF, but also European Union Chamber of Commerce, SPI, Chamber of Commerce, China and Italy, and our associated partners. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francesco. I think we have time for just a very quick couple of questions. If there's anyone from the audience that has some specific issues that they would like to raise, please also send us an email. I will leave my email address in the chat. So if there's any question that we are not able to answer today, we will be more than happy to give you a reply afterwards, so in a second moment. I see that we have a quick question coming from the chat. Francesco, if you might reply to what is the overall interest of Chinese tourists in water sports?
In a few words, it's hard to say, but if I had to choose a line to share with you, I would say that if it was near to zero before COVID, in terms of participating, to sports, to activities in a proper way, like we'd like to do, and not just following sports, it's more than that now. It has changed so much. Obviously, China is a country where the sports we're interested in and we're promoting, like football, like tennis, and the sports that we are more familiar with, like basketball or volleyball, have been followed since the 60s and 70s in China, so are part of their culture as well. Don't forget that ping pong diplomacy in the 60s, and it's something that must be mentioned today because we have witnessed the passing of Henry Kissinger, who was one of the most important persons that understood the importance of ping pong even as a diplomatic tool or approach. Then after that era, which is very, very many years ago, Chinese have developed a good, deep, sometimes very fanatic interest towards our sport. But it also and only were related to watching the games, following what's going on, and these remained very detached, very not matched with the opportunities of practicing sports. In fact, now we must say it's totally different. On a qualitative side, I can tell you, easy share these facts. I have plenty of Chinese friends that are traveling Europe to participate into marathons, for example, which is something 10 to 15 years ago were not so common. Or many people traveling from China to Europe to ski these winters, like I just mentioned. So my general point with Chinese and China and sport is that we are in the era where it's turning from being something of interest that they like to follow, to see, to something that they want to experience. But in the way that we can offer them, it's an experience that must not be too deep, too also dangerous. Don't forget, Chinese tourists are very attentive of what is dangerous and what is not. So the extreme sports, the mountain biking, the extreme mountain biking, very demanding activities are something we must not take into consideration so much when we offer a package of opportunities to Chinese travelers. But in a few words, I think they are like moving from a simple interest and following like fans to experiencing and being not only enthusiasts, but also doers and the practitioners of sports.
Thank you very much, Francesco. I take the time once again to remind you to please scan the QR code, provide any feedback to us. It is extremely important so that we can provide the best trainings and conferences based on your needs. If there's a final question, maybe we might pick that up. Otherwise, I would like, already to start by saying a heartfelt thank you to all of you for taking part to the event today. It has been a pleasure to have the chance to discuss the topic of Chinese outbound tourism in this quick session. Thank you very much to Andalucía Lab, to Fernando, to Jose Luis, to everybody that has co-organized this event with us. It has been a pleasure to work with you, and I definitely hope to have the chance to see all of you that attended today's webinar once again in our future activities. And overall, if we are always here, if you need any support for what concerns the Chinese market, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are more than happy to provide our support, and once again, everything free of charge. So please take advantage of this EU-funded project. From my side, this is everything for today. I would like once again to say thank you to our speaker, Francesco Bacci-Ferraris. It has been a pleasure to have the chance to discuss this topic with you today. And thank you for your attention, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Davide. Thank you, Francesco.